From his humble roots in the Carolinas to victory lane at Daytona, the Silver Fox earned his NASCAR accolades with pure desire and natural talent. Today on NASCAR Past Champions, we look at three-time NASCAR champ David Pearson. Next.
He was described as crafty, calculating, cunning, and cool. No matter the adjective, David Pearson personified the smooth, smart race car driver. Hi, and welcome to NASCAR Past Champions. I'm Mike Joy. David Pearson loved to work over his fellow race car drivers, both on and off the track. He'd run his own race and stick to his own strategy. If the car wanted to lead, he'd let it lead. But he wouldn't challenge competitors early in a race. He'd let them use up their machines. But as the final laps wound down, you could be sure his car was ready to make its move. In his prime, when the checkered flag dropped, chances were the Silver Fox was battling for the win.
David Pearson's story starts in a small mill village near Spartanburg, South Carolina. His family didn't have much, but David had a warm and loving childhood.
Everybody was equal, seemed like, around the mill village. And there's nobody that had more than others. Just like I say, all of us was just poor people, I guess you would say.
David's first exposure to race cars got him hooked on the sport.
Ever since I saw my first race at the fairground, I went over and I climbed a tree, to watch the race. And I'd always slip off and go over there every time they had a race or something that my mother and I didn't know nothing about, but I'd always go over and climb a tree or something and watch the race. And ever since I saw that first, and I said right then, when I got big enough, that's what I was going to do for a living.
He got a car at about, it couldn't have been over 13. It was a roadster, I think he got it cheap and Mama let him buy it, but he wasn't supposed to drive it except when she was home, and he would get a bunch of girls and boys in that car. And he would go to the cow pasture, and they would go up and down those hills in the cow pasture, riding that car. And so they would just fly up down those gullies and all over that hill.
David's dad helped him get things going in the early days, while his mom had mixed emotions.
Yeah, he felt like it, that I could do it, if I had a chance, and that's the reason he would hit me, do things like that. But my mother, no. Every time I'd leave that house, don't you go get in that old car now. You're going to get killed and stuff like that. But, yes, no, she didn't want me to run at all. I could even go watch a race somewhere or another and come back, you get dusty and stuff at the racetrack. Have you been in that car? And, of course, a lot of times I had been in the car, and I'd tell her no.
I think they approved of it, and they were real proud of him. Naturally, a mother's going to be concerned, and she was real concerned.
David's success on the short tracks of the Carolinas would soon propel him to his ultimate goal, racing NASCAR stock. After proving himself on the Carolina bull rings, David Pearson yearned for a chance at big-time stock car racing. With a small push from his friends, he entered his first NASCAR race.
My good friend, Ralph Sawyer, at the time, he came in there, he was on the police force, and he rode a three-wheel motorcycle all the time. And he said, let's start a fan club for you and take up some money and go down and buy Jack Smith's 59 Chevrolet.
I was going to run Pontiac, and I didn't need the Chevrolet. And so David come to us and wanted to buy it. But him and the people who was going to buy it, they didn't have no money. He wasn't like he is today. And so we sold it to him on credit, $3,500 for a race car.
Pearson fielded his own car in 1960. He earned 1 pole and 3 top 5s in 22 starts to be named Rookie of the Year. The following season, he intended on sticking with his own team until fate intervened with a few friends at Charlotte.
Ray Fox came to Charlotte out of Daytona Beach, and he was running a Dodge, I believe it was, and he didn't have a driver at that time, and so we were running the car over there, and Ray needed a driver, and myself and Joe Littlejohn got talking to Ray Fox and said, well, why don't you put Pearson in the car? And he said, who in the world is Pearson? And I said, well, you need to give him a try. And, Joe talked to him real good about it too, and he decided to give him a try.
And he came down to Charlotte, tried the car out. He came in, and I said, well, David, how's the car? Is there anything I can do to make it better? He said, no, I ain't drove a car this fast. Anyway, he won the race on a flat tire. He had that much of a lead. He had like 3 or 4 lap lead. And a left rear tire blew out on him. And I was so afraid he was going to come in one, it changed. And if he did, we might have not have won the race.
Of course, when I got there and he dropped that checker, it was the biggest thing that ever happened to me. You know, winning that kind of money. I think it was about, ended up with $50-something thousand and a brand new Pontiac convertible. You know, they was giving that away. And I never had that much money in my life. I never had a new car like that, you know, Pontiac convertible. So when I come back to Whitney, I was a king of Whitney at that time, driving that new Pontiac and all that money. I kept that top down and I'd ride all over the place, just waving at people.
I remember him telling me, he said he used to be racing a Fireball and all the great drivers, you know, and says he just got to thinking. He says, they not no better than I am. And they wasn't.
Pearson and Fox went on to win 2 more of the crown jewels of the era, Daytona in July and Atlanta, the first time any driver had won all 3 in one season. In 1962, David ran 6 races with Fox before teaming with his childhood hero, Cotton Owens, beginning a lifetime friendship.
I was beginning to get out of the driver's seat at that time due to my double vision that I had, and my depth perception was gone, so I was beginning to get out of the race car, and David didn't have anything to run, so I asked him did he want to run my car at Darlington in '62, and so we got together and we went to Darlington, and from then on it began this one big relationship.
David and Cotton cut back their NASCAR schedule in 1965 when Dodge pulled out in a rules protest, but they came back in full force the following season. David won 14 races and 42 starts to earn his first Grand National Championship. It was a testament to David's maturity as a driver.
Well, he had the ability to get himself into trouble and also to get himself out of it. And that is hard to come by. If a wreck was there, he could miss it. You know, it's just those type of things that shows you that he had confidence in his driving.
And this is one of the great things about David Pearson, is that first championship that he won, it wasn't any big deal to him. I mean, David fully expected to win every time he sat out in a stock car. And anything less than that, you know, if he won 17 races or 15 races or whatever, how many did he looks at it like, how many did I lose?
With his first championship, the legend of the Silver Fox began to develop.
Only reason they call him Silver Fox, he was gray-headed. And he'll probably get mad at me for saying he was gray-headed. He always, but silver doesn't sound so bad. Silver's prettier.
I really don't know who actually started out calling me that. But, some of them says it's on account of my hair. Some of them says it because I was so slick on the racetrack that, you know, pulling jokes on different things, or, you know, or trying to outsmart people or something like that. But I don't know. It was like a fox. So.
David Pearson was reaping the rewards of a first Grand National Championship, but there was plenty more ahead. In their 5 years together, David Pearson and Cotton Owens won 27 races and grew incredibly close. But it was that closeness that began to haunt Owens.
As the sport progressed and as the speeds climbed and running Daytona, running Talladega, running Charlotte, running the bigger tracks at faster speeds, that I think Cotton thought so much of David that it might have creeped into Cotton's mind that if David were hurt driving one of his cars, he'd never forgive himself.
David moved on, joining the elite team of the era, Holman Moody for 12 races in 1967.
We raced, and then I said, why don't you run for the championship? Because he never tried it. You know, we didn't run all the races, didn't try to, didn't want to. I said, at least you ought to try for this guy, he can win them, you know.
The team achieved their goal of a championship in '68 with 16 wins and 12 second-place finishes in 48 races. Pearson's Holman Moody team backed up their title in dominant fashion in 1969 with 11 wins and 29 top fives in 51 starts. Ralph Moody's faith in Pearson had paid off.
No, it was pretty easy, really. It was both years. And a big reason for it was the car and David both, because he was consistent all the time. He's always up there, always finished good. And all that season, I don't remember him tearing the car up or not finishing.
David Pearson was a money driver. Long before probably it was a way to make money, you know, to make a living at it. David always looked at it like getting in that race car was his office. And he was there to make money. And to make money, he had to win.
In 1971, Ford decided to withdraw factory backing of Holman Moody, and Pearson left the team. David was looking for a ride when he fell into a unique situation with the Wood brothers. David and his friend A.J. Foyt shared the driving duties in 1972, but the following year, David became the Woods' sole driver and put together a sensational season with 11 wins.
You know, it was very impressive, and you know, it's extremely exciting to go out and win and feel like it when you go out that you got a shot at winning. If nothing don't happen, you got a shot at winning, and a very good one, you know. And you realized when David went into the race, if your car was right, you didn't have to worry about the rest of it. I mean, he'd take care of the rest of it.
David and Leonard clicked right from the start, although at times, David's lighter side drove the serious Leonard crazy.
He enjoyed picking at you, and then he enjoyed it back. So he was always picking at me. He'd hide when he would get ready to qualify, you know, he'd hide behind the car, you know, and I'd be looking everywhere when it's time to go.
David and Leonard communicated so well. And David would tell Leonard what the car was doing, and Leonard would have something to try to make it better. And they constantly did that.
Through the 1970s, David's teaming up with the Wood brothers would light the match that fueled a budding rivalry. As David Pearson and the Wood brothers hit their stride in the 1970s, David's rivalry with Richard Petty hit its peak.
Oh, it was terrific. You knew you were watching two giants racing each other, giants who were going to become icons. I would say it was like watching Palmer and Nicholas go head-to-head, Ben Hogan, Sam Snead, or Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell.
It was a fun deal. I think we run something like 60-some races first and second. I think he ran 33 and I was 31 or something. I don't know. Anyhow, he beat me a couple more times. And, you know, there's nobody won that many races. You know what I mean? Between the two of us, you know, I won 200, he won 105 or something. And like I say, 60-some of those races were first and second. And so the rivalry there was to beat each other, but it wasn't a deal that I hated him or he hated me.
The Petty-Pearson rivalry can be defined in one lap, the finish of the 1976 Daytona 500.
I drafted by him going down the backstretch, and he had enough power. I accused him then of having a big engine too. He had enough power when we went into 3. Like I say, I just got in front of him going into 3, and so through 3 and 4, he just built right back down and started right back around me again, you know, just that quick. He threw the corner. And I don't know where he thought he was ahead of me coming off of 4 or not, but I always accused him of going up and blocking me, keep me from getting back by him, which I couldn't have got back by him no way from in the fourth turn to start the finish line now, you know. And he wasn't quite by me, so he just kept coming up, and his right rear caught my left front. And of course, both of us spinning around and get.
First thing I saw was Richard coming backwards up against the wall when he come in sight, and then of course he spun around down in the grass, and then I looked down to the inside and hear David spinning around on the inside, and he kept his motor running, you know, the whole time, you know, and he's keying the radio while he's spinning around, and said he hit me.
The only time that I ever remember us even touching fenders was at Daytona in '76. And that's the only time that I ever remember that he hit me or I hit him. We might lean on each other, but not enough to upset anything and stuff. And we run probably more races with him than anybody that we've ever run against. So it was just it was a friendly rivalry. I wanted to beat him, he wanted to beat me, and we figured if we beat each other, then we was going to be pretty close to the front.
David's 8 seasons with the Wood brothers resulted in 43 victories and a remarkable streak of 11 straight poles at Charlotte. But the Woods ran only the super speedways and nearby Martinsville, never running for a championship, something David regrets.
I just wondered if I'd have started racing with the Wood brothers and as good a cars they had on super speedways and things, and run all the races all those years, I wonder how many championships I would have won.
By 1979, David and the Woods had fallen on tough times. Rumors tore apart their tight allegiance, and their frustration came to a head that spring at David's home track, Darlington.
So they didn't tell me they were going to change 4 tires. You know, all I was expecting was just change 2 because to beat Darrell out. Because Darrell was pitting right in front of me, and so when we come in for the pits, of course they did. Glenn was standing there cleaning the windshield because I couldn't see, and while they was changing the right side, he was cleaning the windshield. Well, I didn't see the guy squat down here and take tires loose on the left side because he was standing there, you know, cleaning the windshield. So when they changed the right side, you know, that's all we was talking about, you know, beating Darrell out. So when they changed the right side tires and dropped the jack, which is, you know, signal to go, I took off. Quick as he go around, I took off, and these tires was loose, and I didn't know it. So when we started down pit road, about the time I got to the end of pit road, them tires fell off, you know. So I was set like a fool with 2 tires on and 2 gone.
Well, that was just a misunderstanding, and of course, actually, we thought David wanted to. We'd heard some rumors that he wanted to quit racing a little bit, but we was. A lot of people don't know that, but we was just taking it as an incident, and we was getting ready for Martinsville.
Very embarrassing for the Wood brothers. Very embarrassing for David. And ended their relationship. However, not that many months later, they sort of got back. David didn't drive for them again, but they got back together, and you know, they laugh about it today.
Pearson and the Woods went their separate ways, but eventually worked out their differences and remain close friends today. After parting with the Wood brothers, David Pearson found victory lane later in 1979 when he filled in for injured rookie Dale Earnhardt at Darlington. He'd win at his home track one more time. His last career win came for Hoss Ellington in 1980. His total of 10 Darlington wins and 12 poles still topped the record books at the track so many have found too tough to tame.
He told me one time that he planned his passes at Darlington 3 or 4 laps ahead of the time he would make them. He could sense the situation and see where the cars ahead of him were and what he was going to have to do to get around them, and what spot on the track would be the best place to do it.
David's bad back forced him to make a tough decision and walk away. David Pearson may not be behind the wheel of a race car anymore, But with 105 career Winston Cup wins, the legend of the Silver Fox lives on.
It wasn't any fun racing Pearson. Are you kidding me? Pearson was tough. The one thing about David, you wouldn't see him for half a race. All of a sudden, you look in the mirror, and at 21, start getting bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden he'd be on you.
I think that David Pearson probably had ESP because he somehow, almost always, avoided the big wrecks and saved his car, knew when to go.
Silver Fox about sums it up. I mean, that's kind of what everybody thought about it. Because he kept us in the dark, you know, because I still down deep knew that he could do it, whether he was saying he could or not, but sometimes we didn't really know how much he could do, and I know his competition didn't know.
He's a good guy, really. He's down to heart. He's really got a good heart in him, and I've never heard him talk about nobody. He does not talk. He does not gossip. He don't talk about nobody. He's just tries to see good in people, you know.
David Pearson's 105 victories seem even more impressive when you consider he started only 574 races, less than half that of Richard Petty. David won 18% of his races and finished in the top 5 52% of his starts. Sports Illustrated's panel named him the greatest NASCAR driver of all time. For NASCAR Past Champions, I'm Mike Joy. Thanks for joining us.